Hey guys, Kaylee here. If you've seen any of my previous videos or tuned into any of my social media content, you would know that I'm an avid paramotor chick and I like to climb and do all these wacky, crazy adventures. And today I wanted to do a video that was completely aside from all that. It's a bit related, but I actually wanted to get on here and be a bit vulnerable and talk to something that's kind of near and dear to my heart, and I just see more and more people struggle with it, especially with the boom of social media and a lot of younger people who are easily influenced by it. And yeah, I just wanted to jump in because I feel like not enough people talk about it, or at least in a light that it should be talked about, and basically dive right in. Eating disorders and body dysmorphia. A lot of people don't know, but I was diagnosed with an eating disorder when I was in middle school, and I was actually hospitalized and sent to rehab in high school my sophomore year. And unfortunately, I've had to carry on not only a lot of mental burdens, but just physiological aftermath of the disorder into my adult life. I'm actually turning 26 next week, and I'm still struggling, not on the same, I would say, level, as I've done the work and I've gone to therapy and I've done the coping and everything, but even just the physiological aspects of the disorder that a lot of people don't know about because they think of eating disorders as mainly just a mental burden. But there are things like, my digestion still doesn't function properly, and my bone density, my resting heart rate is very low. I still get irregular periods, if any, for months at a time, and that affects your fertility and everything. And so there's just a lot of things that I feel like are easily preventable. I feel like this disorder is very preventable if caught early on, and I just feel like enough people don't talk about it, or they're afraid to talk about it. I know that adults are afraid to talk about it to their kids. Like, my parents were afraid to talk about it to me because they don't know how to have that conversation. And I know the friend groups are afraid to say anything because, they don't want to make that person feel uncomfortable. But it's those uncomfortable conversations that we need. I needed that uncomfortable conversation. It was that uncomfortable conversation in the doctor's office that snapped me out of my denial and got me to go to rehab and do the work and get to a point in my life where I could actually be physically healthy and work on the mental burdens to a point where here I am now, and I'm still struggling, but I can still function, and I actually know how to combat that negative monologue in my head, and I can see it in other people, and it breaks my heart, seeing young girls, which is kind of what motivated me to make this video, of just trying to fit in and trying to fit this picture that they keep seeing, whether it's on social media or even I went to a private school. And if anybody knows anything about private schools, super cliquey, you're trying to fit in, and if you're not in the in crowd, then it's really hard, and they're just trying to look a certain way so that they can look like the other girls or have friends. And that basically was my situation. I was a nerd, not fitting in, and I wanted friends. I'm at that point where you're kind of developing and trying to find your identity, and I didn't know who I was. I thought that I was going to find that in other people. And so, I talked to an adult and I asked them, how do I fit in? How do I get people to like me? And their simple answer was to lose weight, because I was a bit heavier than the other girls. And, in order to look like them, I had to lose weight and then they would like me, which, coming from an adult now, that's just such an irresponsible thing to say to a young person. Like, I don't, out of any context, just to lose weight so that they'll like you. It was specifically eat less calories to lose weight. I just think that alone, losing weight is one thing, and having that full conversation of like, okay, maybe it'll be a bit healthier, like we can eat better, or like maybe we could do like sports or something. But no, just like lose weight so that, you know, you'll fit in. That's just setting a young female up for failure. And I know that there are guys out there that struggle with this too, just from my personal experience from a girl's perspective. That's just first thing that set me up for failure. But trying to fit in, and along this whole span of, you know, it started in 7th grade, and then it spanned to about 10th grade when I was hospitalized and sent to rehab. At the end of it, I'm 5'7", and I was 98 pounds when I was put into a rehab facility. And if you know anything about the calculations and BMI and everything, that's really underweight and unhealthy. My resting heart rate was 30, and I was also excessively exercised. I joined the track team in a manner to lose weight, not to do sports, just so that I could keep the calorie count low. And I was eating about 200 calories a day, which again is just not healthy at all. But along this entire span, I was getting this positive feedback loop, especially from the moms, which again, parents, be careful what you say, because your words mean a lot to a young person. They were like, oh my God, you're losing so much weight, you look great. And me, being a middle school, high school girl, I'm getting this positive feedback loop, and I'm like, okay, I'm doing the right thing. When in fact, in reality, no, I was killing my body. My bone density was terrible. I was running and I had stress fractures just from underfueling my body. I would pass out. I could barely walk to the driveway in my front yard at the end of the day because I was just so tired all the time. I was a straight A student, and also for the fact that I wasn't eating enough, I actually wasn't thinking very clearly, and I started getting bad grades. I remember the first C I ever got, and I cried because that's just so unlike me. And I knew the information, but I just couldn't get it in my head. It was so jumbled because you're not fueling properly. And I just being careful, the information that we put out there, the things that we say. At the same time, when I was entering high school, that was when Instagram, social media, was first like becoming a huge thing. And, you know, I think at the time we were all posting those like selfies, and it's like, how many likes do you get? How much validation can you get? And now I know my feed is just, the algorithm is just like bombarding me with like the workout routines, and like, look like this Gymshark girl, and, you know, have this skinny tee. And I just think we have to be so careful of what we subject, you know, these easily influenced developing people, because at that age, you know, in middle school to high school, my brain's still developing, and now I'm carrying that on into my adult life, and I'm turning 26 next week, and there's just this stuff that could have been easily prevented. I just think, you know, being careful and having that tough conversation with people, whether you're a parent or a friend, and picking up on these things and spending enough time with people to know that like something is wrong, especially if you're a parent, spending the time with your kids to have that conversation of like healthy eating and healthy exercise. And, you know, outside of all like the like body health and eating and weight wise, just teaching young people to have confidence. Because I feel like if from a young age, if I was taught more so having confidence to be in my own lane and do the things that I love and my joy, I wouldn't have been like stretching so far to try to fit in with a crowd that didn't want me, and probably I wouldn't want to be with anyways. I am at that point in my life now where I'm finally doing the things that I love, whether it's the flying or the climbing or the hiking or all the crazy adventures. Those bring me joy because they make me feel most confident about myself. I found friends in those you know, different hobbies and stuff that, you know, they would probably go out of their way to like help me, and they'd have those tough conversations with me. And now I'm at a point where I'm fueling my body and training my body to do the things that I love, not to fit into a crowd or some Barbie model body that doesn't fit the things that I like to do, but things that I find joy in. And from a young age, if I was taught like how to be confident, I feel like it wouldn't have taken me this long, and I wouldn't have struggled with the things that I had. And yeah, so confidence in young people, I just wish that would be so much more focused on, about like being yourself and not trying to conform and fit into some picturesque thing that's not you. And yeah, being nice, being careful what you say to people. You know, we're all in this crazy life just out here trying to make it. We're all different people and we all look different, and that's kind of the beauty of it. You know, I'm out here doing my climbing thing and somebody's out here doing their skateboarding or free diving or just some other, you know, crazy thing, gaming, you know, whatever you're meant to be, whatever your purpose is for. Like, we're all different, we're all gonna look different, and that's just kind of what makes life so beautiful. Yeah, that's my rant, my experience with the situation. You know, I just want to start this conversation. You know, if anybody has anything they can contribute, or, you know, if you feel heard, just let me know, and I'm rooting for you. Thanks for watching.